Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our Nancy Drew Games review series, where we are ranking every single Nancy Drew game on 6 key aspects, being the story and premise, the suspects, the puzzles, the music, the atmosphere, and the ending. I'm your host, Jameson.
And I'm Julian. What's going on, everybody?
And today we are reviewing Nancy Drew number 30, the infamous Shattered Medallion.
Words cannot begin to describe the immense disappointment I had simply from watching the trailer for this game. And I really feel like this was an era in Nancy Drew games where like the bandwagon was pretty big. People were genuinely looking forward to that next case. And then when I beat Silent Spy and I saw this trailer, I was almost devastated. I knew that this game was going nowhere with no potential, and safe to say, I was right.
So that's one opinion. So this game, if it's not already been made clear, this was game 30, and there was a huge hype train waiting and a potential for it. Even when people seeing the teasers and the trailers, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's game 30, it's gonna be so cool. We're finally getting to meet Sunny June, for one thing.
Well, that wasn't revealed until, like, really on the release. And
yeah, but, I mean, he was the cover art, so.
True. See, Her Interactive, they needed to pull that card at some point, right? To bring Sunny into a game, actually. And they just swung and missed in this game. Not a good game for Sunny to come into.
I mean, the question is, does Sunny bring the game down, or does he carry it? That to me is the big question. But here's the thing. So, like, as we said, there was so much hype going into this game, and like, this was when Arglefumph did his original Mega Marathon, where he played every single Nancy Drew 1 to 29 on stream in anticipation of this game, and that was really what got the hype train moving. And I have a theory, a humble theory, that the reason this game is so hated, first and foremost, more than anything else, is because the hype and expectations were just so high for Game 30. If there's one thing that we've learned, Her Interactive cannot make a milestone game to save their lives. They messed up Game 20, Ransom of the Seven Ships. If you count Game 10, then I guess they did that really well, but, you know, I think we should all prepare for the worst when Game 40 rolls around. That's all I have to say.
Okay, let's jump into the story and premise for Nancy Drew's Shattered Medallion. It starts off, Nancy and George are invited to partake in a game show in New Zealand, where Sunny June, the beloved Sunny June, is the game show host.
Okay,
Bess is coming as a backup.
It's not that simple. So the way it works is it's a show called Pacific Run.
Yeah, it takes place. It typically doesn't take place in one single location.
It's exactly the way that the show works is every episode spans somewhere in the Pacific, and normally there would just be one episode of the season in New Zealand. But for some reason, the entire season is taking place in New Zealand. And it's not called Pacific Run New Zealand, it's just the new season of Pacific Run, and everyone's kind of suspicious as to why. Furthermore, all of the crew and producers have had a lot of trouble at the airport, and now they are being petitioning the embassy to let them onto the set, even though that their papers aren't in order. And really, you can't help but wonder if the one man who was able to get through airport just fine, Sunny June, didn't have something to do with it. It's not like he has a history of mischief and, you know, acts of domestic terrorism in his past.
Yeah, that's just not an enticing premise.
Well,
especially once we get there, like, every hope I had for the game was just squandered. I thought, you know, maybe it was just a really shoddy trailer, and it'll all come together with really cool suspects, but no, we get Patrick.
Okay. Patrick is not even my least favorite suspect in the game, I'll tell you that much.
I have something important I gotta say. It doesn't really pertain to story and premise, but there's just so much laziness in this game, especially in the suspects' talking points. Like, there's so many times where Nancy asks a question and we legit get one-word responses.
You see,
next question.
That used to be acceptable, because that used to be like a character archetype for specific personalities. Like,
yeah.
Gray Courtright would give Nancy one-word answers. He was a short and scornful guy, and like all he would do was just cut her off and change the subject and stuff like that. I think there's a point for every character in this game where they just, like, answer with a one-word response, like it's comedic effect, or it's quirky or charming. The quirky effect in this game. Bess is too quirky. It's... ah! Oh, man. So, bottom line, covering up the story and premise, Sunny June has hijacked a reality TV show. because he, as you know from game 26, as it becomes clear, is involved in a alien conspiracy group called Spied that was founded, as you learn, by his grandfather named Jin. And apparently there is some relic or artifact or something that is hidden here in New Zealand. And there's like a prophecy that he's trying to follow to bring the right people together to like find the artifact. It's so weird.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's not really supposed to. It's Sunny June, but...
No. You gotta have a coherent story for these games to work, and there's too much hinging on, well, my grandfather conjured up this belief, and that's why you're all here today. And it makes no sense. It's like, I wish I could just ask so many questions I couldn't, and it was invigorating to play through.
As we go on, there's gonna be more things. Invigorating is not the word you want. That means exciting.
Oh. Cut that. And it was aggravating to play through.
So I think it's, there's gonna be more and more grievances we have against this game that we'll cover as we go, but I think it's best that we just start moving on, getting to suspects. So, who's the least worst?
Well, let's just cover Bess and George. So Bess and George are in the game, right? And they serve some pretty big purposes. And I like George a lot more than Bess.
Even though she's asleep for 60% of the game.
Yeah, I like George's character model a lot, and I don't really like what happened to her in the first 10 minutes of the game. But yeah. I'm glad that they kept her around, and she still served points after that, so that was really nice.
Basically what happens is, George is crossing a rope bridge for an obstacle, or not an obstacle, she's just like literally picking flowers. How riveting. Thanks for flying us to New Zealand for this. And the rope bridge just snaps and she falls into the river and breaks her leg. Or something like that. It's actually really, really funny because the game show host, who I just want to say for the record, I hate the host. I think she has such a boring Tony Scolari voice. They needed a Chris McClane from Total Drama for this show.
Totally.
They should have had Sonny doing all the narration. That would have been so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I know that then you could work in some of the kinks where it's like, Sonny June, don't make us come down there, young man, where they're talking to him through the narration. But still, this game had so much potential for charm. This had potential to be the funniest game, I would say. Because Sonny June, on paper, literally on paper, looking at his doodles and all his comments, has been a hilarious guy throughout the games. And he's just in some ways not who you'd expect. Anyhow, I think it's important to just note that George gets injured, and they make it really funny on the broadcast. They make it sound like she died. And I remember when Arglefumph first played this stream, goes, "Wait, did George die?" And then it goes, "She's just dropped out of the competition." It's deceptive wordplay. Then after that point, Bess subs in for George, and Bess is like,
"I'm gonna die here,"
needlessly afraid, and
she has a huge crush on Sonny, and really just annoying Bess in this game. George was so much better.
Slight tweak, or no, like a slight critique that doesn't really bear much importance on the game. Of all the characters whose default position is to sit and drink coffee at the Hot Kettle Cafe, or to cook stuff in the kitchen, Bess has the worst default character thing ever. She just stands in the middle of grass and just like looks at the wall. She literally does nothing. She's not on her phone. I think they're trying to make it that she's looking at Sonny, but that's not even where Sonny is.
I know.
They have her like facing the producer area, but he's over by this tent on the other side of base camp. It's weird.
So yeah, just to get Bess and George out of the way, quite the dynamic duo in this case. George sleeps a ton and Bess just gawks over Sonny June.
Yeah, we sneak back into the producer area to visit George in the hospital tent.
Yep. Alright, but let's actually get on to suspects now. Do you want to start with Sonny? I guess it's only fair.
I guess. So, Sonny has purple hair. That is everything.
I love his character design.
That is everything you need to know about Sonny. You know,
Sonny's character design was pretty good.
Small critique, he looks like too ripped. He looks more muscular than you would expect.
I did not notice that.
Well,
I just, like, picturing Sonny, like, the player has had 29 games, right, to conjure up an image of what they think Sonny June looks like, because we've seen him so much in prior years. And I think it was actually pretty realistic. Okay. I liked the purple hair.
I didn't expect him to look, like, as good as he did. I mean that, like, he seems like the kind of guy that would just, you know, be wearing just a t-shirt and jeans and, like, have pimples from eating the greasy wontons that he, like, writes about in his notes. it just seemed out of place for him to be like so well composed. And furthermore, I like his voice. The voice actor had a great voice, but the tone and the dialect of his just wasn't what I pictured for Sonny June. He's always like so weirdly calm and collected. And I think it would have been better if he came off as more like Ryan from The Deadly Device is what I pictured.
Interesting.
Ryan from The Deadly Device is closer to the Sonny June I had imagined since Game 6 than the Sonny June in Game 30.
So, I mean, just talking from my perspective, I thought it was pretty easy to rule out Sonny as being a culprit. Because I didn't think Her Interactive would pull that card on the beloved fan-favorite suspect we're finally getting to meet, you know?
Well, I mean, in a sense, you could say he is the culprit.
No, he's not.
Well, I mean,
he's guilty of having very specific people come to the show and rigging it in his favor.
And, like, also hijacking the show and messing with people's visas.
Yeah, but Sonny's character was interesting in this game because you learn more and more about him as it goes, and especially about his relationship with his grandpa, which was probably just my favorite part about Shattered Medallion. Anything that was not the game show was decent. Everything pertaining to the game show was garbage.
Yeah, I'll speak my mind on that as we go on. Okay.
What do you think of Sonny?
Sonny, I guess you have to call him the best character in this game because he has the legacy effect. He has build-up.
Mm-hmm.
And, everyone else just sucks. I guess Lina is the only American. I don't even register as an American in my head.
Let's cover Lina and Patrick.
Okay, Lina and Patrick are the only complete team that we get to meet. Kiri, the other suspect, had a teammate who apparently jumped into the river to save George off screen and, like, hurt her leg. And so she got kicked off the show too, but we never meet her or anything. So now Kiri is on her own and Nancy's on her own, and Kiri suggests that Nancy and her should team up. But we're talking about Patrick and Lina. Patrick and Lina, God, Lina is so spiteful.
They don't seem like a couple to me.
I don't like her.
There's no click between them.
Lina is like a sociopath, and she, like, makes a deal about how, oh yeah, I know that my boyfriend's not smart, but that's why I like him, because he's just interesting and simple like that, and I like to dissect him because I am the Zodiac killer. And it's so weird, because she's like, she acts freaky in ways that the game doesn't acknowledge.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that she actually solves a puzzle for us. That was very unlike a Nancy Drew game. We literally paid a suspect in a points card to solve a puzzle for us. It, like, kind of undermined Nancy's abilities. It felt just wrong doing that.
If they bring back any of these characters in any game, I will spit. These would be the worst characters to bring back. Besides Sonny, if they bring back Sonny, that'd be cool.
Perhaps. Patrick is extremely bland, and they made a very big note of making this guy as boring as possible. They joke about it a lot.
Okay. I like Patrick. I think...
No.
Okay. I know that everyone hates Patrick, and they say that he's the dumbest character ever, but... You know, in a game where the New Zealand accents are just so obnoxious and in your face, I appreciate someone who never talks. So...
His entire backstory is he's like a world-famous rugby player who's going through like a spiritual divine like...
No, that's just his personality. He's a very simple guy, and he knows he's simple. He's almost like a Buddhist, where he's just like totally zen with the world and...
Doesn't like swimming.
No, he says that he has 0% body fat, so he's like a gorilla, and he just sinks to the bottom when he tries swimming. He occasionally says things that are wise in at least a pseudo-wisdom way, but overall, like, he's not necessarily charming, he's just... God, for once we have a character who's not in-your-face, annoying, or talkative. I honestly feel like the last two games, really just Silent Spy and this, have just been non-stop word vomit from some characters, and I can appreciate someone who doesn't like to talk as much. That's what I have to say about Patrick.
I mean, dialogue aside, he really didn't serve much to the case either, and it was so dumb what he does at the end of the game.
Excuse me?
No, it was so dumb.
He sinks to the bottom of a river. He finds his river. That's poetic justice.
The ending of the game is going to be its own little hashed out argument, but Patrick, this just extends past Patrick. No suspect in this game really served much to the actual competition, you know? Kiri kinda did in the fact that, like, we go against her directly in some little, like, contests, but, like, we never saw Lina or Patrick scheming and doing stuff. We overhear a conversation, sure, but for a case that takes place on a game show set, why do we never see any of the contestants working at anything? Or why do we never make alliances with suspects? It felt so weird.
I mean, you can make an alliance with Kiri, but like...
We know
it doesn't.
False.
Yeah. This game needed alternate endings. That's one of the things that this game needed. So I guess we'll talk about Kiri now. Kiri is like an acrobat or something. She used to work for a circus and then like decided one day that she didn't like it anymore and then stopped working for the circus. That's literally her backstory. And then ever since then, she's just been a reality TV star. She actually, I think she has my favorite, funniest line in the game, despite me not liking her. She says, Nancy goes, well, how did you get your big break on reality TV? And she goes, I started on the show called Sleepless, where you both stayed up for 24 hours and then went on a first date. We went skiing, he died. I just thought that was funny, and then she was like, well, he died later in like a boat thing. Also, I just butchered her accent and did British for some reason. But still, that was funny comedic timing. I just wish they didn't try to sneak lines in like that everywhere, because the most of them fall on their face. Bottom line, Kiri, I guess she's the culprit.
For the stupidest motive in the world. The entire endgame, her reveal, I'm doing like fake quotation marks with my fingers, was so nonsensical, and I was face-palming the entire time. She had no motive, and
her motive is that she wants to win. That's
yeah,
like,
no,
I mean,
it's
like,
because we stabbed her in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what the heck? First of all, the game show had already been over, and she was just trying to kill us.
Oh, yeah, that too. And, like,
what the heck, girl?
Oh, man. Okay.
So stupid.
Second thing, another big grievance that I have to say about this game. This game did not need a culprit. I know, it's controversial to say. If anything, let Sunny have been the culprit. But they were building two different storylines at the same time. Sunny hijacking this show to try to fulfill an ancient alien prophecy, which, to me, is the much more interesting subplot, and they should have put 100% into that. And then they just, like, give the most half-assed story ever into Kiri, like, trying to hijack this show, and, like, into, like, Kiri trying to cheat and just smash skulls and beat everyone else in the competition. It was so needless. You didn't need the worst puzzle in Nancy Drew history for the tiebreaker. I'll bet that the Pacific Run ratings were dropping so fast as that began to air.
The whole subplot with Kiri being evil, I guess, it was not foreshadowed at all, because there were like countless times while I was playing this where I just looked over at Jamie and I was like, what is the mystery here? What am I trying to solve right now?
And I didn't know what to tell him. I'm just like, we're trying to figure out who cut the rope bridge on George. And then it's just like, Kiri did it. Why did she do it? Because she wants to win. And it's just like, what kind of a motive is that? That's like, I mean, I guess you could see something like that in Waverly Academy, where the culprit just wants to become valedictorian, more or less. But this is not valedictorian. This isn't a full ride scholarship. Kiri's just like a sociopathic idiot, I guess, who just will kill people to win on a reality TV show. Not surprised she's not an American.
I really liked your take, though, that this game would be better without a culprit. If it just focused on Sunny, that would be a much better game. Still a bad game,
okay,
but a much better game.
Here's the thing. This is what I want to say wrapping up Suspects. This game had so much dead weight, just fat to be trimmed, that was horrible, had no place. We didn't need any of this garbage with Kiri being the culprit. We didn't need a culprit at all. Like, oh man. The way that I see it is, this game, more than any other game, needed cutscenes. They needed so many cutscenes. They should have, like, taken an extra year to render more cutscenes for this game. There should have been cutscenes every time that a challenge completed and everyone's, like, meeting with each other and they have, like, chances to do witty dialogue there. Cutscenes from games made 10 to 15 years earlier were more charming than this game's stupid little debriefs. I mean, again, I tell you, if Sunny had the right game show host energy, where he was just kind of like an idiot and he owned it and he was just like goofy and obnoxious, instead he just comes off as calm and like weirdly calm, and it's not funny, it's not entertaining, it's just not the Sunny June that you would have expected to meet. It's like he's had a complete character change. But I stand, if this game had cutscenes with all the characters regularly, that would have given it major replayability points. That'd be something fun. But instead, it just doesn't feel like they knew what direction they were going in. So, are you ready to get into puzzles?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
This is a very polarized mixed bag here.
puzzles followed absolutely no theme in this game, and I try to think, if this were a real game show, who would watch this in their right minds? It's the most boring TV in the world.
You gotta forgive that, because it's a puzzle game, so...
Okay, sure. But, shearing sheep,
Okay, well...
and, like right off the get-go, the train puzzle, like, rearranging the tracks and everything, the whole little puzzle palace gimmick, nothing was fun in puzzles in this game. And as Jamie droned on about the terrible tiebreaker puzzle,
The tiebreaker puzzle at the end. I'm gonna say it, I like a lot of the puzzles in this game. I think this game shines for puzzles. This game tried to be just puzzles with no mystery, but then they decided to shoehorn in a culprit where it didn't belong, and it messed the whole thing up. It's one of the many things.
which puzzles did you like?
I liked...
Was it the picking flowers puzzle, or was it the shearing sheep and panning for gold puzzle?
There were puzzles in this game that I enjoyed.
No, not for me.
What?
I mean,
Okay.
the unlocking the cave at the end of the game was kind of like a nice puzzle. That was a unique one we hadn't seen before, where we need to get like a square in every panel type of thing.
Okay, so the thing is, regardless of if I like some of these puzzles, none of these puzzles are like that lovable. But there is a puzzle in this game that was just horrible, and that is the tiebreaker puzzle at the end. I hated this puzzle so much. I'm not sure if, like, you always have to do it. Maybe if you have, like, tons and tons of points and finish everything on time, you can just skip this puzzle, because you just, like, beat Kiri outright. But the way that it goes is, like, at the end of the game, Nancy throws the last medallion piece to Bess, and Bess shoves it into the thing, and, like, Sonny just pulls a stupid verdict out of nowhere and goes, "Oh my gosh, it's a tie, we have to do the cool sudden death elimination tiebreaker." And he puts up a camera in front of this stupid test tube. It's a puzzle that's just about waiting and making timed responses to patterns. I can go ahead and easily call this the worst endgame puzzle ever. I might even call it the worst puzzle ever.
Dang.
But because it got to the point where we spent 30 minutes just trying to do it, and it gets so frustrating because, like, you lose points the more you go. And then we'd, like, experiment, like, can we just get everything wrong and then have Kiri win? Is that an acceptable ending? And it's like, no, it makes you keep on redoing it. You can't even get spoilers for it, because it's not the kind of thing you can get spoilers for. It's like, it's the perfect anti-puzzle. It's just no fun. It's just boring. You gotta have, like, gobs and gobs of patience for it. And I would need time to consult every other puzzle in the franchise before I make the verdict. But as of right now, if I think a horrible puzzle, this is horrible puzzle in caps lock. This is just the horrible puzzle that comes to mind.
You haven't listed a puzzle that you liked.
Okay, well, it wasn't that I loved puzzles. It was that there were puzzles here and there that I liked, and I thought they were cool.
Okay, breaking into Sonny's chest was terrible.
It wasn't...
Bringing back Jamila was kind of cool, but it was just a cheap way to, like, learn the solution, I guess. And even still, it was just a terrible puzzle.
What about the opening the security camera, shutting them all down at the beginning? Do you remember that puzzle with, like... That was a good one. I feel like every puzzle in this game was digital. And, like, parts of that were cool. I like the submarine sequence. It was kind of a pain to, like, go through all the different width screens on it. But it was really pretty. I like being able to use the altitude to look up and down, even if it was kind of useless. But it was a really cool tone shift. I think I'm going to have to give Atmosphere, I'll say right now, it's probably my favorite part of the game, because, like, it made everything look really pretty. You can't mess up Atmosphere that bad, especially if you're outside. I prefer the Atmosphere to the last game. I will definitely say that. I like the setting much more than the last game. This is an outdoor game that has 5 different locations, for one thing, so that's cool.
Fair enough.
Overall, closing remarks on puzzles?
They followed no consistent theme, and almost everyone, was just miserable to sit through. And the end game of this Nancy Drew game and all its puzzles that came with it were just a grind of boredom to get through. Seriously.
I say that I like the puzzles. That last puzzle ruined it all for me. I hated it so much. It was just... I didn't even want to play through the epilogue with Sunny after that sequence.
Alright, guess we're gonna head on to music now.
Nothing remarkable here, I'm gonna be honest.
Yep. It's nothing that you want to spend your time listening to, but we're gonna cover a couple tracks because there were a few like little pretty ones that capture like the New Zealand nature side of things.
The thing is, it's not necessarily New Zealand music. It's just like game show music. We're just gonna cover 4 tracks for this game really because it's just going back, throwback to the olden days where we'd only cover 4 tracks a game. But also because this game's music sucks and nothing about it is special. It's not New Zealand music. It's not. It's more game show music than anything else, which just inherently
it doesn't have a genre.
Exactly. It's just lame puzzle solving music, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Was not a fan. Don't know why anyone would be a fan. It's just, it's so generic. It's such royalty free music.
Some of it is kind of like serene and peaceful for like kayaking or shuffling through the forest at
Doubtful Sound or
yeah.
Cromwell,
right. But a lot of it's just, yeah, yucky. So, let's jump into track number 1. I'm gonna cover the title music of the game, which is one of my favorite tracks. It's called Exploration, and you really just hear it everywhere. It's kind of upbeat. I can see how it fits a game show, and you get this neat little xylophone in the background that also comes in a number of other tracks, but it's catchy, so I guess that's a good purpose that it serves, but otherwise, nothing special. We're gonna play a little snippet of it here.
Following the theme of nothing special, we have competition. So competition is probably just one of the more, I guess, slightly more intense tracks in the game. It's got a higher BPM, if that's what you'd call. I don't know. Really, the whole reason that this track stands out from the others is just that the tempo is faster. And competition just has like a segue in it where it just turns into violin that becomes kind of pretty. And I feel like that's the best that I can introduce it for, to just play that right here. So here is competition.
Alright, this next track is my favorite. I would call it the most fitting track in the game. It's called Puzzle, and you hear it a lot in the Puzzle Palace, which is just a little cheap part of this game that was vastly underused. But regardless, it's kind of catchy. It's good for like putting your nose to the grindstone and getting through a puzzle. So here is Puzzle.
And finally, I think we should cap off this short music category with the Majestic track. Probably my favorite, because my favorite part of the game was just exploring the scenery. These new games definitely got the graphics down better than the previous games in the series, and you can't blame them for having bad ones in the past. It's all about just sign of the times, you know? But in this game, I feel like they really took the scenery and ran with it. There's pretty mountains in the background.
There's a beautiful waterfall. It's just the best single part of the game.
You get to go kayaking, you can go into a submarine and like go under the water and stuff. There's a lot of really pretty scenery in this game, and this is usually the track that what happens in your on-ground actual exploring. So here is Majestic.
Alright, jumping into Atmosphere now. I second what Jamie said. I think it's the best part of the game. Not even saying that much, but there are some really beautiful places. My favorite being Mossburn, which has just an amazing little waterfall. Like one particular screen where the waterfall is off to the side and you can see the rope bridge off to the left. There's like moss hanging over the cliffside. It's actually just, it looks like a Bob Ross painting almost. It was really well done. And that part of the game, the artwork department really came through for most parts of the game. So atmosphere is what holds this game back from being like a true disgrace to me.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, can one category redeem all others? That is the question.
No, it can't, but I'm saying at least there was a salvageable part of the game.
I guess so, yeah. It makes me think maybe I'm gonna end up making a 40 minutes of exploring video for this game.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. If you want that, then don't want it. It's just that simple.
Another part that I liked was actually the base camp. I thought it was a little bit underused, especially since we can't see like more than half of the real competitors. But I liked that there was just a common area where everybody mingled. Coincidentally, the only place that we can find are other suspects. And I liked all the competition locations like stage 1 and stage 2, and the puzzle palace was there, and the auction house, and a bunch, and that's where Sonny was. So it was like the nice place where everyone came together.
I love Mossburn, Cromwell, and Doubtful Sound. I think that the other places just get a little bit reusable. I like Cromwell more than the other cave. The other cave had some horrible hidden objects in it that completely stumped us in our playthrough. Probably edit out those parts. I hope we did. But on that note, I feel like this game, again, totally just shined in kayaking and messing around out on the water and going out to waterfalls. I honestly liked picking flowers in this game because it was something to do that wasn't just annoying. Oh man. Of all the games to have cool environments that warrant rope bridges, I prefer the Kapu Cave rope bridges to this. And that was 50 screens of just clicking. 50 screens of clicking, I tell you.
The kayaking part of the game was pretty cool, and I liked that puzzle where it's a time trial. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was mandatory, but for bonus points, the time trial of having to touch all the little colorful buoys.
That was cool how it was just like, hey, bonus quest, first person to get, whoever gets the highest score on this kayak race gets a special prize, and then you do it, and then Sonny texts you, sure enough, nice, here's the password to these caves, get there before anyone else and poke around. So that was cool.
That was neat. But like, I don't know what else to say. New Zealand, I've never gotten to go, obviously, but I've heard it's a beautiful place, and there were certainly beautiful parts of this game, so I guess
it's where they shot Lord of the Rings.
I want to say that they captured New Zealand decently well. It looks like a really pretty place here on the game show. But,
we don't have a resident New Zealander on the show.
Still, almost like underused, kinda.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could call the whole game underused when you take a look at how much potential it had.
Right.
The Sunny June game. Do you think here's a good question. Should the Sunny June game, should it have been Tomb of the Lost Queen? Because there was huge Sunny June themes going on there. You could say that the whole Spied subplot was just making way for Sunny and preparing for this game.
I think it would have been a better fit. He almost felt a little forced in this game, like the whole subplot of his grandpa and everyone coming together. It felt too unrealistic.
Wouldn't it be cool though? I think it would get to buy this game bonus points if Sunny was a character in Tomb of the Lost Queen, and you would like just get to meet him, and he has like the ability of being the culprit. And I guess he wouldn't be, or maybe he would. He just get off Gibby Norton style, like in What's New Scooby-Doo. But man. Sunny June, I really hope they bring him back. He deserved better than this game. I always loved a game where they had Sunny June references. Oh, and I gotta say, I love when you open up his trunk and he has like stuff from the Dread Isle Research Center and Beach Hill and just every single job he's taken in the past. That was cool. That was cute. I liked that. So, are you ready to get into endings so soon?
Yeah, I think so.
So, this game has 2 endings, and each more underwhelming than the last. The first ending is just Nancy winning the game show, and like Kiri just like shoves her out of the way and is running with her medallion. Perfect timing as always. And Nancy just throws the medallion piece to Bess. Bess is useful for once in her life. And actually, no, not even. I would prefer that Bess was late and Kiri won, so we didn't have to do this horrible puzzle.
Same. Kiri's animation was so weird too.
Kiri's gonna win.
Not a fan. Not a fan. And Sonny's blatantly on her side. He's like, go beat Kiri.
Yeah. Like, it's like...
But, like, Jamie and I both had that moment where we had to take a step back and imagine ourselves in the shoes of fans watching the show being televised. And we get Nancy and Kiri playing this dumb puzzle competition at the end. It was just miserable.
So then, once that's done, they do the whole Pacific Run ending cutscene. Oh my gosh, Nancy Drew won. Hooray, congratulations. And then, like, it cuts to Nancy with Sunny, and he's like, you ready to go find out what this whole thing's been about? Meet me at the caves and grab a rope or something. And you get there, and you start spelunking with him, and basically, this is where Sunny's subplot starts to come to a head. The whole game, he's been making you and other people go on side quests to recover these strange relics and artifacts that almost look like astrolabes, like maps of the stars and stuff. And we're just trying to put them all together to do something. So once you climb down these ropes, and you're just like at this water cave thing with a raft in it, and there's like rapids going through this water, Kiri just like comes by the top and it's just like, I'm the culprit now, and I'm gonna kill both of you because the plot requires me to.
Because you betrayed me, is what she says.
Yes.
Like, what did we do?
And she says like, oh my gosh, the cave was dangerous? I thought it was part of the show. That's what I'm gonna tell the producers when you guys die.
So it's just gonna be her, Patrick, and Lina chilling. Lina, right?
Yeah, Lina.
So it's just gonna be her, Patrick, and Lina chilling there, waiting for the producers to come up while Nancy and Sunny are dead in a cave.
You know, I don't say this lightly, and it may be the first time I've said it. This may be the only culprit that I hope gets the life sentence.
It was so stupid of a motive, the worst part of the game by far. But anyways, yeah, we're stuck here in this cave, and we kind of get a little homage to the Last Train of Blue Moon Canyon minecart puzzle, where we're having to shift through caves on a raft on a river.
This is interesting. Sunny like pushes Nancy into the river with him, and they're like on a raft or something, and the rapids completely take over you. And Sunny gives you all these cool Sunny June-esque directions, like head for the horns of the Minotaur and stuff. And then like you see this part of the cave with like these horn outlines in the rocks. It's like, go for the stalagmites, or no, the stalactites. I can't remember which one. And it's just kind of funny because that's kind of like the goofy Sunny June style. I think that's probably peak Sunny in this game. But like,
it was definitely the most real Sunny we saw, which I liked. I wish we got just more personal moments like that with him.
The most thing I just have to bring up here, the animation for this sequence is needlessly beautiful. Like, there's not a single repeated screen.
This and the waterfall, they put all the graphics into.
No. That's not like the waterfall was just a still screen and stuff. This was actually like a cutscene that lasted like 30 seconds of just going through newly generated cave walls and terrain and stuff with special designs that were made and fit to match his descriptions, like the horns of the Minotaur and stuff. Why did we need this? We could have had cutscenes throughout the game. Like I was saying, the game so badly needed stuff like that, and not scenic caves to be rafting down. Oh, God,
yeah.
It's just like, where did the potential for this game go?
It was supposed to like hype up the audience for what's to come, even though it's so vague what actually happens in the true end. I still don't even know what we discover at the ending of this game.
Basically, Sunny has Nancy use all the clues in his comics he's hidden around throughout the entire game to open up this great big old astrolabe with all these relics that he's been collecting.
With the help of Patrick just cannonballing out of nowhere.
Patrick just cannonballs down out of a cave in like a goofy Patrick moment, like, oh, you guys were saying help. I thought, I'm down here now. And basically, he just cannonballs into a river and sinks to the bottom, wholeheartedly expecting to die for no reason. And then I guess like he pulls a plug and drains an entire cavern. Where did the water go? Stop asking questions.
Yeah, it was a pool? Like, it wasn't a natural body of water? I'm so confused.
But at the bottom of it, there's this crazy, like, El Toro astrolabe that Nancy does this thing on. And
it looked cool.
She's there with Sunny.
But there was no explanation what it was, what its significance was, and the endgame letter answers none of those questions either. I
like how Sunny was giving up for a minute when he got to that pool, and then Patrick, the gorilla, opened the whole thing up for him, and he goes, sorry, I doubted you, Grandpa Jim.
That was another, like, real little thing of Sunny we saw.
Oh, man. But, again, just cool things happen when you open this thing up, like stars just come shining out of it, and then that's it. The endgame letter starts, and, like, Nancy jokes, oh, I'm sorry, Ned, but I can't tell you about the events until the show airs. See ya. It's just like, psych, I'm just kidding. If that was the way that the letter ended, Nancy just says that, game over. I would have thought the developers were going to file bankruptcy and just move to Bermuda as soon as the game launched. Oh, man.
Wait, what
Okay.
was the prize for winning the show?
Like money or something? I don't know.
Well, that wasn't talked about nearly enough.
Yeah. In the end,
I'm still asking questions. What did the astrolabe reveal? Where did Sony go off to after this?
I can only hope that, like, that's the way of saying Sunny June will be back someday.
And it all goes back to Jamie's thing about how this game would be much better if it just honed in on Sony's story and it gave more light onto that, like more about Grandpa Jin and what exactly the astrolabe reveals. Is it like a treasure map to something?
Okay.
Oh, and what does it have to do with the Anunnaki?
All I have to say is if they brought back Deirdre Shannon as a suspect and helper in Midnight in Salem, then I have hope that someday they're gonna bring back Sunny June. I would love a whole game where you have Sunny June at your side, like how you have Deirdre Shannon at your side in Midnight in Salem. That'd be great.
We'll see. I don't want them to butcher him in the new engine, but it would be nice to bring him back.
So, it's time to get into the rating for this game.
Huzzah.
Words will be said.
Okay, I will go first. There's no feasible way I can give this game a high score when, after beating the game, I don't know a single thing about what happened at the end. I didn't know what the mystery was while I was playing it, and I was just overridden with boredom while playing it too. Terrible story, terrible suspects, and just the game developers couldn't understand, they couldn't decide what route they wanted to take it in. If they wanted to focus more on, oh, the show's being sabotaged, or Uncle Jin has this Grandmaster prophecy that we're a part of. So it's so dumb. And the laziness in the dialogue options with these suspects, I am going to be giving Nancy Drew, the Shattered Medallion, a low D. A low D. It's not an F, because there are some really pretty parts of the atmosphere. But it's a D, guys.
Okay, so this game just seemed botched from the start. I guess that they just originally thought, we want to do another international game. Where's somewhere that we haven't gone before? Oh, New Zealand? That's cool. What should the plot be? A game show? That's awesome, let's do that. And they just ran with it and just didn't think of anything. Oh my gosh. The biggest mistake of this game, I've said grievance after grievance about this review, has to be that they decided to make a whole game show contestant drama plot instead of just focusing on Sunny June hijacking the thing. Sunny June needed better writing. They could have gotten rid of Patrick, Lina, and Kiri for all I care. They served no purpose. The only purpose that any of them serves to Sunny's story is Patrick jumping to the bottom of a river and undoing a latch. That is all. I guess you can't have Patrick without Lina. We could have just left without Kiri. I guess that like they were part of his weird comic prophecy. What I'm getting at is I'm also giving it a D. So, this game, music, probably the most forgettable entry for music in this whole franchise. There is not a single slap and bop in this game. You never want to listen to anything. Why couldn't they just had a jukebox in Puzzle Palace? They had Raid. They had Monster. Bring us a jukebox, please. Oh, man. Things about this game that could be fixed goes on forever. And I really, really hope, for the sake of Sunny's character, because they did him dirty by putting him in this game, that he gets a second chapter in a later game. To my knowledge, I don't think there's ever any mentions of him resurfacing in games 31, 32, and 33.
No, there isn't.
We'll keep our eyes peeled on these
And
replays.
all the in-game letter says is that he went off on the quest to follow up with Uncle Jin.
Yeah, Grandpa Jin. It's
Grandpa
weird.
Jin.
I'm aware no one else likes this game too, and I understand why. I don't have a controversial take on this one.
It is a grind to just finish.
So, I think one last thing we should just cover before we wrap up this review. Why didn't we give this an F? What's your excuse?
You really swayed me on the atmosphere, and I picked up on it while I was playing, but there's some really pretty parts of it, and there's 5 different zones. They're not all unique from one another, but I liked the progression in how you have to enter each zone, and, I mean, stuff like Cromwell and pretty screens while kayaking really it felt like New Zealand, and I've never even been in New Zealand, so I have to give the game
now you don't
credit
have
for that. Yeah, I've played the game. And I also like the base camp because it kind of felt like an authentic little game show base camp area. I don't know.
This should have been the game with the most suspects, too. I mean, like, it's a game show. You can't just do those stupid poses where everyone's just back to back. I don't know.
Alright, guys, don't play this game.
I'm sure Interactive listening to our reviews is gonna love that.
Do not entertain your wallets with buying the game.
But please play any other game, though. We love Her Interactive. We love to support them.
Yes, we do love Her Interactive. Alrighty, boys and girls. Thank you so much for listening to our review. We know this one was
This is a rough one.
It was a hate fest. Let's be real.
Okay, yeah. To be honest, we gave Secrets and Kill Remastered the only F, but I did that because that was hardly even a game. That was so lazy. There were 4 puzzles in the whole thing. But I feel like this game is slightly more deserving of a better grade because they had potential, and they fulfilled some of it, but, you know, I've said it a million times. They just went off in wrong directions in their budget and stuff.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and we're on the road to 100 subs, almost there, and it means so much to us.
Just hit 85. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys, because we're having a ton of fun making these videos, and to have this humble, small community, it really means a ton to us.
We'll be uploading some exploration of Blackmore Manor and maybe Shadow Ranch too this week to hold you over while we tie together Labyrinth of Lies long play, because that's going to be a long, hard one to beat. From what I remember, that game just non-stop puzzles.
Totally.
But anyhow, we hope you enjoyed the review of this. Not even polarizing. We were in agreement this time. This game's trash.
Yep. Alright, everybody. Thank you very much for listening, and vote for Holt.
Vote for Holt.